I don't know if I can carry myself in an entertaining manner on Elden Ring like I can in Magic necessarily. Aren't I married? We're not married, but we're basically married. We decided that we wanted to try to buy a house before we tied the knot, because it's just like marriage is a big fucking waste of money. To be honest, I haven't played any Reanimator today, but kind of stuck on the archetype. Yeah, we'll play. I will commit to playing some Elden Ring on stream. How much is TBD? Wooded Foothills, probably Jund Saga or some Jund variant. Is it getting married like $50? Not when you have my mom. My mom would be crushed if I just got courthouse married. Yeah, there's a show, right, called Marriage or Mortgage, where couples get to choose between having the show buy a house for them or fund like their dream wedding. And you know, this is just me like regurgitating a comedy bit of that show, but I've been told that, okay, interesting. Wooded Foothills, Den of the Bugbear, so they're playing red-black, but they're playing maybe more fetch lands. Could be still Jund, I guess. But I believe, from what I've heard from the, I don't remember who said this, but it's they always choose the marriage. Like nobody ever chooses the house, which is like gotta be so frustrating. Yeah, I would choose the house every single time. Marriage is a waste of money. Weddings are a waste. Yeah, for sure. Of course. And I'm very excited to marry Esther. It's gonna be great. But it's the wedding. That's what I mean. Of course, is that the wedding will be very expensive, and we'd rather buy a house first. Okay, so I'm gonna play this Consider first. So my Murktide will be out of Unholy Heat range. I will graveyard that, but I think I'm just going to make this a 7/7, with me having 2 more Murktides in hand. Yeah, Murktide plays so smooth. This is the run. I hope so, bro. Hope so. Big Eyes with the 5 months. So I'm playing Blue-Red Kiki. Starting with your Blue-Red Twin from testing with Caleb, be a good starting point, and swapping Twin for Kiki. You could try it. There's a lot of other variants. You can play like Lotus Field too. Kolaghan's Command? Yeah, I know. The rats keep eating my cash, so we can't, it's hard to get a house when all of your rats keep eating your cash. It's also hard to get a house when you show up to the bank with stacks of half-eaten cash. And they're like, where did you get this? And I say, I'm a 1K Andy. And then they say, get out of here. Find a venue that accepts play points? Yeah, then now we're talking. Gotta terminate? Whoa! Awesome. When I was I tried to build this deck. When I was playing it, I feel like you really couldn't afford to play like cards like Urborg. I just like found myself having all these hands that didn't deal me any damage, and I was just like, I had these like pretty stranded in my hand. I'm gonna smack him though. Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, this card is pretty good in Shadow, but like, I really feel like Dress Down. I absolutely agree is the card holding Scourge of the Skyclaves back. So we lose to double Teamer Battle Rage. It's probably fine, right? Since play points are backed by Magic Leagues, they are a more stable currency than the US dollar. Sag. Would the house be big enough space to fit all the cash and rats in separate rooms? We'll have to look into that. Yeah, Solitude is a problem for Scourge. But I mean, you know, Death Shadow like is able to thrive in a world of Solitude. Well, my opponent has not hit the concede button yet. I'm gonna attack. 3 mana for a Murderous Rider, perhaps. They're not playing Lurrus as a companion, I just noticed. Why are they not playing Lyris? I'm gonna let this resolve, I think. Do I want children? I like to do most of my family planning with Twitch chat, but we'll save maybe this conversation for another day. Twitch chat are my children. Okay. Let's take the Dress Downs against the Scourge deck. Yeah, what do I need kids for? I got chat, huh? Spell Pierce is probably pretty good. Let's get the Furies. Trim on Counterspell. Trim on Bauble because we bring in the Dress Downs. Trim Consider. Got the 4th Bolt. This looks pretty good. Maybe I want Engineered Explosives. I think I'll just play Dress Down instead. I've got Charm for Shadow, Dress Down for Scourge. What my trophies with yesterday? All with red black. I played 4 leagues yesterday. I trophied 3 leagues. It was crazy. Like the first E is flexible. Yeah, the first E is probably fine. I think I'm just gonna submit this though. Envoy, I think for 2 months. Appreciate you, buddy. I could probably keep this on the draw. Do you think I've improved as a player during the race? No. If anything, I've gotten worse and made a lot more mistakes with my deteriorating mental state. Yeah, if anything, I'm playing worse than I usually do. Yeah, which is like, it's definitely the dynamic of the races. It's like, the more you play, the more exhausted you get, the more burnt out you get, and the more mistakes you make, too. I think I heat this just because like they won't be able to play a Scourge if they don't hit me with the Channeler. CFB content on red black. There's some. It's a little out of date though, to be honest. There's some. I haven't seen any Tron. Have we got any trophies with Tron this race? I haven't. I don't usually play Tron on stream. I usually just try to play decks I'm interested in. It's also true that like I'm not by any means a Tron expert, and I know that if I were to pick up the deck, I would be missequencing with it. It would take me some time to like master it. Yeah, but there is some CFB content on red black. The list is like pretty up to date. It may be time for a deck guide update. I could do that this week. This week I'm doing my video with Teamer Reclamation, and I'm updating that deck guide, so maybe I'll do an update guide on red black too. Yeah, only Tronic off stream. At one point I had Third Fury over Just Down. Was Hammer more popular at the time, or is a different reason? So what I like about Fury is that it's like a really good, I think Fury is a great main deck card. Paulo Vito Dama de Rosa has a really good video on this topic, talking about how a lot of players have this conception that if a card gets boarded out a lot, like Fury gets boarded out a lot in this deck, then it's not a card you actually want because you board it out all the time. Why would you? You actually probably shouldn't be playing this card because you board it out a lot. But I think that Fury is, what I like about the card is, in my opinion, it's like very generically good. It's good. It's very medium against a wide range of matchups. It's very good against some less popular decks, of course, like tribal decks, and it's very good against Yawgmoth. But it is just kind of always going to be pretty good. It plays pretty well, like with the Counterspell plan, where you have like a creature in play, you Fury for 0 mana, hold up Counterspells. That's pretty good. But you often board them out for more efficient cards. So I found that like I wasn't running into like the tribal decks that you really want Fury for. I wanted more specific, focused sideboard cards. Wow. And I didn't want what did I discard here? Probably the Iteration. And I didn't want as many Furies post board in a lot of matchups. So I'll probably just play a big Murktide Regent with Spell Pierce up. Yeah, Paulo's got a lot of really good videos about like being a better Magic player, being a better deck builder. And you know, a great resource if you guys, if any of you are looking to learn a bit more about the game. Irish Kelp, thank you for the 6 months. Good username, by the way. I have an Irish friend. I always think of her accent when I see a username like that. It mostly comes out when she's drunk. If I'm trying to record, why don't I destroy shit with red black? Well, I'm also like, this is something that people can forget, but I'm also trying to keep the stream entertaining and not just play the same deck every day, but like vary. Like today I played like an untested Jeskai Stoneblade list this morning. Because it isn't very important for me to keep the stream entertaining and fresh and not just play like the same 1 or 2 decks over and over again. Yeah. That being said, like there was also like you'll notice on like the trophy thread here, like there was a big gap where I stopped playing red black for a while, and that was less so because of, hold on, I'm on the play. Keep this. Like if you look at the trophy thread, like there was a while where I stopped playing Rakdos because I was playing like a lot of Jeskai Lotus Field and Murktide, some Shadow, some Rockrick, and then eventually came back to Rakdos. But there was like a long period where I thought the deck was pretty poorly positioned, and I think it's only kind of recently pivoted back. Yeah, I have a trophy with Edgar Charm Groom. I've got a trophy with Jeskai Phoenix. I'm trying to keep it entertaining. I have not just tried to maximize my win percentage all season. It's also like important to note though that like I know that this is what Ginger does, but Ginger's also like become recently very burned out, I feel. And it's like it's just hard to play the same like a couple of decks or one deck over and over again all day every day. I don't know how Menino, that's what Menino does though. I don't know how he does it. I also don't know how these Yorion decks always have the ending for your Ragavan. At least we find the second land. Alright, this matchup's not that good. Where's the Scales trophy? I've lost playing for a trophy with Scales, I think. I would love to get a trophy with Scales. I really did. I was trying for a little bit. I'm just not a master with the deck, to be honest. How the Ragavan decks always have Monkey on one. Got him. I think I counterspell this instead of using the heats. So we're gonna leave this on top. One type away from Delirium. Yes, Scales is very, very good. I think I'm proficient with the deck, but I'm just not a master. Killboard, thank you for the 7 months. Appreciate you. I've seen Yendrik's Grixis thing. I haven't seen it, no. I love Yendrik a lot. I'll take a look at the list if you have a link for me. That's kind of like the one color combo I haven't tried out, to be honest. Who currently holds the record? Use Brazilian Grinder Y Principe. So this is important to note every once in a while. We believe this to be the all-time record. In all this time talking about it, like the last 6 months, 8 months, talking about trophy racing and modern league records. Nobody's ever come forward with evidence or even come forward with an unsubstantiated claim saying that, hey, my cousin got 60 or 89 trophies in the summer of 2016. It's also like, a big part of that is also the fact that like the leagues haven't been around that long. They've been around like 6 or 7 years. It's not like you have 25 years of this type of league trophy data to go against. But we believe the record to be 72. From what we know of the history, we believe it to be 72. I think I let this resolve. Yeah, I think I just let this trade happen. Hold up Charm. I have Delirium now. I could play I could play a Channeler. I could play a Channeler and hold up Heat for like Omnath. I think I'm gonna pass. Yeah, we need someone to be the trophy historian. I'm pretty confident that 72 is the all-time record. I feel like if someone had ever done more than 72, it would be something that, like, nobody accidentally gets more than 72 trophies in a season. You know what I mean? Like that kind of record is very intentional, like intentionally trying to get as many as you can. And like I imagine whoever, you know, was doing that would be, you know, able to like provide a screenshot or like at least say, hey, I did this, you know. Am I gonna drink 73 shots if I get the record? Sure. Just like spread over time and off stream. Haven't seen any fun hats on stream lately. Stream didn't do that bit. We did this morning. I put this hat on. It's the mutilated corpse of the big hat. Because it broke. We just turned it into this one. But it's like pretty uncomfortable because it's so small, so I took it off kind of quick. Can I ask what the evidence was for 72? Well, I've seen it. I've seen the screen. I saw it happen live because it was like 6 months ago. And there's also like on Prince's Twitter, you can go to his Twitter and like that's his Twitter banner is the screenshot. It wasn't that long ago. It was like 6 months ago, maybe like 8 months ago now. 6 months at the start of the race, I guess. Am I heating this Ren? Probably. How do I like the blue channel line for Murktide? It'll be fine. Like you'll play it. 9 days left. 9 days left. Is Grixis JVP not thing? I'm not a big fan. I mean, I love JVP. I don't think the card's that good though. Okay, let's just draw a lightning bolt. No, but I will definitely accept Murktide with Charm up. Instant, still keep Delirium. I counter back, I think. I got 5 trophies over the weekend if you count Saturday or Friday. One Friday, 1 Saturday, 3 Sunday. Please no answer to Murktide. Although, like, it's like pretty likely they have a Solitude, to be honest. They put Yorion in the hand, and then they spend 4 mana. Did they miscount and think they could Yorion? That's what this looks like. Hold. Everybody hold. Everybody hold. Everybody clinch up. They've got 2 counterspells in their graveyard. I'm going to go for it main phase. Oh, I guess maybe I should bauble myself. Because if I have a counterspell on top, it's better to go on the upkeep. Okay, well, didn't get punished by having that first one countered. And it feels so embarrassed if they have a counterspell here. Sorry, opponent. Sorry. Feel dirty for that one, to be honest. So we're kind of in a weird spot here. Good morning, Sanchez. Good morning to you. Where I recently have like felt like I don't even like Blood Moon in this matchup. It's like they just play around it so hard, and it's so easy for them to play around it. So, like, the last time I played this matchup, what I did was I brought in the Spell Pierces and the Dress Downs, and I just didn't play the Blood Moons. Which is maybe I shouldn't even have 3 in the sideboard, to be honest, but this is kind of where I'm at with it right now. Winning game 1 is a big deal, because this matchup is not very good. If we can get through this bad matchup with the win, I'll be pretty happy. What a beautiful hand. What's Hammer's worst matchup? I feel like Hammer's worst matchup is usually Esper, Ephemerate, Reanimator. Let's keep this. I'm actually gonna put back Channeler. Might look a bit weird to do that with this hand, but this hand is like really soft to a turn 2 Rin and 6. Oh, fuck. Well, I'm going to try to block the Ragavan because I kept the Channeler in the hand. What was my preview card? Lion Sash was my preview card. Very good equipment. It's going to see you play in Modern in Stoneforge Mystic decks, I think. Yeah, shout out to the Shuffler. Had her back there. I'll draw a Spell Pierce. Do I still exist in Discord? I haven't checked Discord in months. Don't ever expect me to like respond to messages there. I don't respond to very many messages, you know, that aren't in stream. You know, I'm here kind of like doing this live Q&A for people's questions most days of the week. If you have something like gameplay related to ask me here, that's fine. If you have something important to tell me, I do have Twitter DMs open, but I don't usually respond to like gameplay questions off stream. Want to send me puppy pics? Well, tag me on Twitter, I guess. Yeah, I'll definitely play one of those in Fiddlebender. Absolutely. I think we let this resolve. They're kind of like priced into like popping this on their turn, I think. Or we get to Murktide them. I have a one piece of advice for somebody who just bought Murktide. What would it be? Get CFB Pro and look at my guide for sequencing on turn 1 with these Ragavan decks, and then some of Mangu's deck guides for Blue-Red Murktide. So I think I'm going to Iteration first here. Hand Counterspell. Bottom Steam Vents, Exile Tarn, and then I think I just play Scalding Tarn. And then like the real question is, do I save the Bauble for Channeler? I think I will. Countering this puts me super cold to its Teferi. I think I'll just let it go. I wanted to ask how I should play Phoenix against Hammer Time. You say the matchup's good, but I've never won. You play the role of the control deck. Dimmy Lich, getting removal spells turn after turn is very powerful as well. You can probably like go on the YouTube and find some old gameplay of Phoenix against Hammer and maybe see how I like to play the matchup. I will say that this happens a lot. I'll like very often get a question like the most common one is, Spike, I'm playing Rakdos against Burn and I've never beaten Burn. What do we do to make that matchup better? But the Burn matchup's pretty good for Rakdos. And I think like a lot of times, like, you know, I could obviously be wrong sometimes and think that a matchup is a lot better than it is. That's a very common thing for Magic players to do, especially when evaluating their pet decks. But I do think that that matchup is pretty good for Rakdos, and I think that sometimes like you might just like not understand the dynamic of the matchup, or you might have been getting, you know, a bad string of variants and you're limited playtesting against it, and you think that the matchup's a lot worse than it is. It's often one of those two things. David with the 7 months, thank you so much, buddy. No, pet decks are totally fine. Like, I really do encourage people to play their pet decks, but I don't encourage people to pester me about playing them. So my opponent exiled Ren in 6 here, which I think is fine. I think I just let this ping happen. Then I untap and I play Channeler, Heat the Ice Fang, and I can either attack Ren in 6 or ignore it, probably depending on if I can get Delirium or not. Am I proud of myself? I guess. I don't know, man. I like Spell Pierce if my opponent's on Ephemerate here, but we saw that they play Ragavan. Usually Ragavan variants don't play Ephemerate anymore, so I think I'm just going to graveyard that. You should be. I mean, I am, but I'm in a very humble way proud of myself. I am definitely proud of myself, but I don't like to brag. Bragging is lethal to the streamer. I guess I kill the Ren because they can ping my channeler. Oh, you were sorry. You were you were responding to someone else. Oh man, dude, it is so freaking dangerous to brag as a streamer, because it's like as soon as you fall off, which it's kind of inevitable that eventually you'll fall off, right? As a content creator, as soon as you fall off, there's all these clips of you bragging. You know, I'm a Spike. I have hundreds of viewers. Oh man, you know what I mean? Put an Exiled Solitude here. Hopefully we just go Yorion in hand, pitch that, tap out. The Exile Solitude. Well, I'm gonna give this a Counterspell. See if this resolves. We'll definitely keeping that on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not quite lethal. Oh yikes. It's kind of fine though. Yeah, I just let Harry brag for me. Absolutely. They already used 2 Solitudes. Alright, deck tech for main power. Abs and mid-range. I love seeing 4 Thoughtseize to Inquisition. We're gonna Exile's Lightning Bolts with their iteration here. They have another Teferi. Gonna bounce the Murktide and then bolt my Channeler. I'll get to the deck tech. Maybe let me finish this game up real quick. It's gonna be a pretty tense spot, like whether or not to attack them or me. Or sorry, them or the Teferi. I think I like drawing 2 here. Probably graveyarding that. Perfect. Well, I sure am glad I ran super hot there. I think this is, yeah, 2 points short. I did side out the lightning bolts. But they have to deal with 2 Murktide Regents, which is not that easy for them to do while they're down 3 Teferis and 2 Solitudes. Yeah, I can brag about the Vampire Pox trophy, my biggest accomplishment. Saying you like Thoughtseize over IOK. I see Mini Gen Sagas go higher in IOK. Should they swap? Yeah, they should. Thoughtseize is better than Inquisition and Kozilek and Modern right now. I think it's going to be like that for a long time. There's like no end to cards that are like Thoughtseize are better against. Like Titan and Tron are really popular. Thoughtseize hits Solitude and Fury, which are huge. It hits Omnath. It hits Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. It hits Kaldra. It hits so many really relevant cards that get missed by. They have double bolts. So many relevant cards that get missed. Oh, they don't. Oh, they're just bluffing. It's awesome. 2. Oh, I'm not feeling good. Okay, mulligan on the play against the Lurrus deck. Keep this hand. Putting back Counterspell, I think. Okay, as far as the sideboard goes, I would play the 3rd Veil of Summer before the 1st choke. I don't love these brutalities unless burn. If burn's popular in your local meta, that's fine. But four sideboard cards against burn on Magic Online is way too much. And I would play Firewalker, I guess, over brutality because it's the better card against burn, and they really only come against burn. I mean, brutality comes in a couple other matchups, but it's usually pretty weak. Stony Silence is pretty awkward in the Stoneforge Mystic deck. I probably. Like, you can play them and just cut your sword post-board. I would also like to see a Feast and Famine on the board. I think Feast and Famine is pretty good against big mana combo control. And I think those are all my thoughts. So Grixis Shadow again. Not a terrible matchup. Okay, can't Murktide this turn. I want to get the Murktide, you know, to 7/7 anyways. Burn not popular on MTGO, not very, no. It's like, it's not unpopular maybe, but it's not a deck I really expect to play against that often. My opponent does not have Delirium. I think it's probably worth to try to bolt my opponent here in order to try to get Delirium on the Channeler. I also like want to surveil and try to grow the Murktide anyways. Okay, I missed on Delirium. This does let them play a Shadow if they have it. Thoughtseize for Murktide, also kind of a disaster. Got some good top decks though. Mulling on the play against all these 1-for-1s is pretty rough, and then the Lightning Bolt line didn't work out very well. Drew an island for turn. You lose these games, chat. What can you say? These are the kind of games you lose. You lose these. You said you're gonna slap in Team Wreck. It's gonna see some play, but like that's still an Archmage's Charm deck. You know what I mean? That's still a deck that is playing 4 Archmage's Charm and 4 Counterspell, so that's not like a great home for a land that only taps for green. Is my opponent about to cast Lurrus and die to a top deck Bolt? This is not a good line. This is not a good line to die to a top deck Bolt here when you're so ahead. I also could draw Fury, Unholy Heat's fine, Murktide's fine, Iteration, Charm. Ragavan, come on, you're fucking kidding me! 3 in a row. Okay, so this matchup, this is usually how I sideboard. I'm going to stick with it. 18 lands, by the way. Use the restroom real quick. Yeah, surveil the land into the air, too. Tills concede. I mean, I was super dead there. Yeah, I was super dead there. They get to gain life. Lightning Bolt's no longer an out. They're drawing cards off Lurrus. They have like 4 spells in hand, or 4 cards in hand. Just dead. No E or Relic? Yeah, no EE or Relic. You have Archmage's Charm as an out to Shadow, and I usually find that Explosives is not that often a 3-mana 2-for-1. It's usually a 3-mana 1-for-1, which is not that relevant. And Relic is fine against Grixis, but I find in this matchup you are constantly wanting to top deck Murktide Regent. And if you bring in Relic, then like if you're popping the Relic, then like your top deck Regents are much, much worse. But there's like just so many games you win just because you top deck the Regent and it's an 8/8 and like you turn off their Drown and they can't heat it. It's just huge. Pretty good hand. Screaming Squash for the 2 months. Appreciate ya. All of the recent trophies worth Rakdos mid-range. Probably not going to play any of that today. Probably tomorrow, maybe. Maybe today. We'll see. Yeah, we saw the new Saga. That card's pretty good. You can get a Steam Vince here with all these red cards in hands. Hoping to not miss a land drop, though. How's the Shadow matchup overall? I would say Murktide is slightly favored against Shadow. Less than 5%, but my experience a favorite. Playing both sides of the matchups like easily 100 times on both sides of the matchup. Yeah, I like the new Kiki Saga too. It's pretty good for me. Did I see the new SKUs equipment? I previewed it, actually. That was my preview card. So I can bolt my opponent here, and that would allow me to play Murktide with Counterspell up if I draw a land. That'd be pretty good. I think I'm gonna wait though, because that Murktide is still just a 5/5 or 6/6. I want to get it out of heat range. Jace's not a good sideboard card anymore for Murktide deck. Here's we've had this conversation many times lately, but here's the reality about Jace and Murktide. It's a fine sideboard card that really shines when blue-white control is really popular. Blue-white control is not particularly popular in Modern right now. It is not. Yeah, blue-white control is like no longer one of the most popular decks. It's not a deck I expect to see that often. So I don't play the Jace in the sideboard. Blinky 3 months, appreciate ya. But like I also like really feel like the reality is that Murktide players really, really want Jace to be like the best sideboard card of the sideboard because they love Jace the Mind Sculptor. They love putting it in their deck. You know what I mean? Like I really feel like that's reality. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with liking Jace and putting in your sideboard. Jace is a fine sideboard card for Murktide. It's always been very much a flex spot and not mandatory in this deck. Thank you, Zajad, for the 22 months. Appreciate you. Does it mean it just isn't good enough? No, it's a fine flex sideboard slot, just like any other sideboard card. It's just not one that you always want to play. Alright, land will be so good here. Let's go. What's great is they can't drown my counterspell, so if they have Terminate plus Drown... Yeah, they need Terminate plus, They need Terminate plus Spell Pierce, I guess. Jace is also good against grindy matchups, too. Is it? It's like... People say grindy matchups, but I think Jace is good in the Murktide Mirror. I don't think Jace is that good against Jund Saga or Rakdos or 4-color Omnath. I think Jace is really good against Chalice of the Void decks. Jace is good against, like, blue-white control with Chalice. That's really where the card shines. And is like, but like it's good in the mirror too. Like I like it in the mirror. It's not that good against Rakdos. It's fine. Like you can board it in, obviously, but it's not like this slam dunk. If I like Jace, so can you play an FNM? Yeah, of course. But I've just been getting a lot of questions like, Spike, you don't have the Jace in the sideboard. Is it not good anymore? But like, people just need to understand that that card has just always been like a flex spot. It's never been mandatory. Parallel wise, how much stronger is DRS versus Ragavan in reality? I don't know, man. Yeah, people always ask these kind of questions like how much stronger is X card than Y card, but the reality is like it's so hard to quantify. All cards in Magic are so like situationally better than others. People think that Shaman would be insane unban. Yeah, Death Ray Shaman would be an insane unban. It would be absurd. Yeah, sometimes it's easier to weigh. Lightning Bolt versus Shock is a bit easier, huh? Is one snap a good replacement for the 4th Ragavan? I'd say yeah. I'd say it would be. I still have my Shaman sleeved up ready to go. Yeah, I know you love Shaman, Tannen. Yeah, the thing about Ragavan versus Shaman is like Ragavan has a way higher ceiling. Like Ragavan against Tron or Belcher is way better than Shaman. But Shaman is like has a much higher floor than Ragavan, where the floor in Ragavan is getting gut-shotted, or he blocked by Young Wolf, or blocked by Midnight, or blocked by Forge Tinder, Sanctifier and Vec, like. But Shaman, you know, has got 2 toughness, it's graveyard hate, it's life gain, it's direct damage through blockers, it's mana acceleration through blockers, and Shaman can also be played out in multiples, where, you know, if your opponent has a Young Wolf in play and you have 3 Ragavans, you're pretty bummed. If you got 3 Death Ray Shamans, you're pretty pumped. Well, maybe not 3, but it's just like, yeah, it's just like the consistency of Shaman just makes it the stronger card than Ragavan. Yeah, Shaman is like always good. I mean, it can be like, it's obviously like can be rest in peace, but just like Shaman is just like so much more consistent. How's it possible Ragavan is banned in a higher level format like Legacy would find in Modern? That's a great question. That's a great question. How is it possible Ragavan is banned in a higher power level format like Legacy would find in Modern? This is a question that you can understand when you understand the format differences between Modern and Legacy. Where there's a lot of things in Legacy that Ragavan does better than in Modern. Where in Legacy you get access to Daze and Wasteland, which makes resolving 2, 3, 4 mana spells much harder than it is in Modern. So while your opponent can play Ragavan in Modern, it's like pretty easy for you to resolve Rin and 6. So, I mean, I could just list any number of spells that you get to resolve and go over the top of Ragavan. But in Modern, you play your 1 mana creature that's making you mana and drawing you cards, and you have Daze and Wasteland to stop your opponent from being able to get anything going, which is huge. It's also true there are less creatures in Legacy than in Modern. Creature combat is like less of an important dynamic in that format, which means that you're going to see like good, efficient creatures like Young Wolf and Midnight and Burnington Force Cinder to block Ragavan. It's also true that mana curves of Legacy decks are a lot lower, and players also play a lot of cantrips. I think I'll play Ragavan with Pierce up. Players also play a lot of cantrips, so like the average card that you're hitting with Ragavan is a lot better. Where like in Modern, it's more likely that you're going to hit a card that you can't use. In Legacy, you're going to hit a card that like is like just free card advantage more often. And Legacy decks are also like better at using that extra mana too. But I do think that is a great question. Why is Ragavan banned in Legacy and not Modern? But that is why. They cannot ban Ragavan Modern for a financial expect. The card comes from set in Modern Horizon and be embarrassing. I mean, they banned 2 cards from Modern Horizons 1 without like. That's kind of a silly argument. Ragavan is also not too good to get banned. LSV had kind of an interesting take on the card too, where it's like Modern right now is more about like efficient threats, creature removal, and interactive games than it ever has been. And a big part of that is Ragavan. Because Ragavan does like really incentivize like these kinds of games. I'm not saying saying Ragavan is a well-designed card. I'm not saying Ragavan is doesn't suck to get hit by. Ragavan is like maybe not the funnest card, but I do feel like the environment that Ragavan cultivates is not bad. At least I enjoy it. I should say that I enjoy it. Of course, like it's very important to always remember that everybody enjoys Magic the Gathering a little bit differently, and that's okay. That's part of the fun. I feel like a Lightning Bolt's pretty good here. Helping me double spell maybe off the iteration next turn. Probably keep it. I like DRC a lot, but Ragavan creates a lot of love, so play draw scenarios. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Again, Ragavan is not a well-designed card. I think that, like, Ragavan would still have this effect of, like, making modern games more like they are now, more, like, focused on interaction and creature combat, which I think is good. But I think that Ragavan would still have had that effect. So I'm going to block here. Ragavan would have still, in my opinion, had that effect. If it didn't have dash. Like, why does this card have dash? It makes no sense to me. That this card is, like, without dash, one of the most powerful one-drops ever printed, super polarizing. But then this also has dash. It makes no sense. Makes no sense at all, in my opinion. I think I'm going to fetch shock so I can keep my treasure around. Also get an extra type in the yard with the fetch land. ID command Shaman says, yeah. I know that Shaman is better than Ragavan, but like that's not the. I feel like that's not the point I made. It's without dash, it's still one of the best one drops ever printed, like hands down. Like not even like much of a conversation. It's a good hit off of them. I do have the steal though. Yeah, people just want to argue sometimes, I guess. Design fail for a flavor win. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, if they dash Ragavan here, I think I just trade with Channeler. I think I keep the counterspell up in that spot. Looks like they're gonna go for a cast of Ragavan and then Lurrus in the hand, which I think I think I saved the counterspell for the Lurrus. I can maybe try to iteration into a removal spell. Reality Heist, dude. They really just are ripping off 2077. I really like Cyberpunk 2077. I'm not necessarily like heartbroken that they're doing this, but like as soon as I saw the reality chip, I was thought of the implant from Cyberpunk, and now and there was a heist spoiler for Cyberpunk 2077. There's a heist that involves like a memory chip, and like they just are doing the same thing here. But let's read the card. Yeah, I love Cyberpunk 2077. Obviously, like, there's a lot to be critical of with the game, but please, I really like the game. The game is so fun. I really like it. Please don't shoot me. Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, I guess I'm not like super into the genre, the cyberpunk genre, so like this could just be like a trope or something of the genre in general. Yeah, I'm not like very enfranchised. I mean, if I play this Murktide, they literally can't win, so I should probably play it. I guess I could have played both Murktides, but we kind of win no matter what, huh? 3-0. Feeling good. There's been so many like potentially playable modern cards in Kamigawa. It's been really exciting. And my music went to like these random playlists today. I've never heard any of these songs. It's like a lot of okay. This is called Hotline Miami Wrong Workout Mix, but it's a banger. The whole thing, I've been pumped. I like to listen to a lot of like soundtrack style, like, you know, electronic music during the streams, so don't have like words pumping in my ear. Okay, cool. Some people in chat familiar with it. Yeah, I've never heard any of this stuff before, but it's pretty good. I think it's Grixis Shadow again, probably. I think I'm going to graveyard the Ragavan. I think I just kind of want to be more in on this Murktide Regent this game. Well, I didn't fetch enough turns, so like definitely Shadow. I mean, they were basically locked in to be Shadow already, I guess. Easy counterspell. This game is all about protecting this Murktide. I feel like WotC's cycling between high-powered sets and weak sets, and now we're back to high power. Yeah, I think I do think that design's kind of intentional, or at least it has been in the past. It's always been something I haven't loved. I kind of wish the power level was more flat. But it does make standard way easier to design for when you have like a set that is like very much power level defining, and you're able to kind of like supplement that as like the base power level. Shouldn't the gunship? Yeah, well, maybe we can get like a thread in the Discord for like music recommendations or something, but then I would have to check Discord, which is not an option actually. Yeah, we just looked at the artifact Dig Through Time. A cool card for sure. What do you think about Subtlety in the Sideboard of Blue-Red Murktide? It's fine. It's probably like decent option at the moment with like Titan and Tron, or more so Tron being like a very popular deck. But it's also true that like while Tron is a popular deck, it's already like a pretty good matchup for you. So I tend to find that Subtlety like makes Murktide's like good matchups better, and is like not often a sideboard card I choose to play. That being said, if Tron is just like the deck to beat, then it is obviously a good option. Oh no, I hate this draw. I mean, I just mean, this is game 1. Yeah, this is game 1. I could lose to double heat on my Murktide. If I go Bolt Murktide. I think I'm just supposed to go for it here, game 1. Just like, they're not going to have Terminate in their deck. I want to Overdelve because of Drown the Lock. Despite not getting an extra counter. Oh, Dress Down, of course. Of course. Double Heat was just red. Well, they can draw. They get to draw a card for turn. They can draw a red source for Unholy Heat. Why not just keep up tie? I forgot that Dress Down wins this here, but this is game 1, so like I was thinking this Murktide Regent was going to be like unkillable. But yeah, I should have played around Dress Down, obviously. Why not Keep Up Tide? Well, I wanted the Murktide Regent to be a 7/7 to get around the first copy of Unholy Heat. That's why I cast the second Bolts. So this would be a 7/7, not a 6/6. Obviously, if this was going to be a 7/7, it's just like a very easily Murktide hold up Counterspell. I'm asking you to make a music channel server. You can, yeah, Ghost, if you want. It's really up to you. Marsh Flat, so they have the White Splash. Not a big fan of the White Splash, to be honest. Couldn't they just have Drown Lock? No, because Murktide Regent shrinks my graveyard, so they can't drown the Murktide. The only thing we get got by here is Dress Down. Or on their turn, double Heat or Heat plus Bolts, which are unlikely to have Bolts, but... I really want to crack my Bauble now. I guess I'll just do it. They do not have Unholy Heat, which is huge news. Yeah, I really dislike the 4-color version too. It's like the Prismatic Ending and Kaya's Guile, like these cards, like in theory solve Shadow's problems, but like Dress Down solves so many of these problems already. Like Dress Down is so good against Hammer, stops Sanctifier and Vex, stops Forged Tinder. It's just like you don't need the White Splash. I'm stepping black, red for a Kroxa. Type of music store recommendation. Mostly electronic music, but you know, people can post whatever they want in there. Like I might go in there and like if I'm like just like playing off stream and want some new tunes, like I would like actually go in there for that. So I know my opponent's hand is Iteration, 3 mystery cards. If I don't counter this, I'm dead to another Dress Down. Casting this also means Murktide Regent isn't out to win. Oh, they shuffled Iteration, of course. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about English rap. No. So I have to counter this. I'm dead to Drown in the Lock now. Close game. If I had played around Dress Down, we probably win that one. We did lose game 1 against Shadow last match, and then win the match. We'll see if that happens again. You could also be dead to Kroxa. Well, I have the Counterspell. I'm so confused. Only 60 yard. They're drowning the Counterspell. What are you confused about? Why not Counterspell the Shadow instead of the Ragavan? Well, I wasn't dead to the Shadow. And so, because I'm not dead to the Shadow, I just want to counter something that I'm dead to or that kills the Murktide. Right? I was at 14 houses dead. They have a 12/12 Shadow. They have a 2/2. They have a 2/1 Ragavan attacking for 14. The Drown wasn't targeting my Murktide. It was targeting my Counterspell, right? The turn where they push your DRC, you could have fetched and used one of your bolts to yard on top of Murk and kept counter up. Did I have the 4th land in my hand that turn? Because I don't remember having the 4th land in hand. But Shadow contributes most to being dead. Well, I think there's a lot of like hindsight bias here, to be honest. Where it's like, if they have a removal spell for my Murktide plus the I'm gonna keep that on top. If they have a removal spell for my Murktide plus the Shadow, I'd rather counter the removal spell. I can still counter one Ragavan, or any second creature to put me dead. But like obviously with their hand being exactly Shadow, Ragavan, Drown, then yes, like like the countering the shadow would have worked out better for us. Although it wouldn't have. They would have just drowned the the counterspell on the first shadow, then dash the Ragavan. My second counterspell counters the first dash Ragavan, then they dash Ragavan again. I still lose. Is that a good trade? Not really, because we again this matchup just revolves around. I think I'm graveyard that. I think this matchup just revolves around Murktide Regent, so like we really want to keep Regent in our hand in spots like that. So my opponent's gonna Kaya's Guile me, which I probably counter. Could let it go. Could be just totally fine to let go. I don't have the Murktide in hand. I think we let it go. Well, the 1/1 token's also like pretty good against Ragavan or Channeler. I'll counter it. I'll counter it. I think it feels very close though. Hopefully this is a creature. Mishra's Bauble. We had a hot run with Rakdos over the weekend. I should let the Surveil resolve first. It's unlikely to matter though. Just better sequencing. Thank you, Dragon Rage's Channeler. Let's draw a spell, please. Please. Alright, that works. A lot of pressure on my opponent. Opponent does have 4 spells in their hand, though. And a new card. Could be a land. Hopefully, I'll discard spells. Yeah, I've watched some Vomit League. I've watched like at least a little bit of every episode so far. Okay, they were supposed to... Oh, no, sorry. I obviously could block. Never mind, sorry. I was confused why they didn't dash first. Alright, would have liked to draw that. Let's see what I actually draw. I think Fury Tide is better than Moontide? Yeah. Especially with 4-color Omnath just being like so resilient to Moon right now. No, I haven't watched any of the Vox Machina show yet. Is it good? I didn't watch like almost any of the campaign. I watched some though. Okay, a lot of good draws here. Including that one. Hold. Not really know what they can have. Blossoming Calm, I guess. Feels good. Okay, I think I still like the sideboard plan. I guess Blood Moon is better against this version. The problem with Blood Moon is like Blood Moon is good when you're even on board or ahead on board. In this matchup, it's really hard to be ahead on board or even on board early. It's very easy for them to like trade profitably with it with a counterspell, or they're ahead on board with creatures and you play Blood Moon and then your Blood Moon just like straight up does nothing, or you should just die anyways. But obviously like the upside is really high. But this is how I've been saying against Grixis Shadow. Obviously, them being 4-color, like Blood Moon should be more of a consideration. But it also like turns off your charms a lot of the time in this deck, in this build, and like turning off charm is bad when it's one of your best cards too. Basic Lich, amazing username. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. Amazing username. I don't like explosives in these matchups usually. Usually, explosives is a 3-mana 1-for-1. When it's a 3-mana 2-for-1, it's great, but it is usually a 3-mana 1-for-1, which is not something that I typically like in this matchup that is all about mana efficiency. Thank you, Thoughtseize Bug. This matchup is all about mana efficiency, and so like having that really inefficient 3-mana 1-for-1 is usually pretty rough. It is also true that this version of Murktide has 4 Archmage's charms as answers to Giant Shadows. When you compare that to some of the other versions of Murktide that don't play the charms, like those versions do usually want to keep in some explosives because you again just don't have outs to a big shadow. But that's also like a big part of the reason why you play the 4 charms too. I think we just hold up Counterspell here. Thoughtseize bug is nothing real. It's just when you draw the card that you get Thoughtseize, you pretend like it's a bug. It's not. It's just a joke. My Kaya's got me here, but that's probably fine. Just gonna hold up Charm here, not give them a target for their removal spells that they're likely holding. Just trying to blink that man a little bit. Yeah, they might go for a Kaya's Guile here. I think I'll just let this resolve if this is that. Does adding white make the deck worse? Is Jeskai still viable? Jeskai's viable. I've been liking this blue-red version. They're both like very similar in power level. This is something that's like really important to understand about like the conversations of like Jeskai Murktide versus Izzet Murktide versus decks like Grixis Shadow versus like the White Splash here. It's like there's obviously like I think I'm gonna counterspell this, and then if they counter back, I have the Charm to deal with the Shadow. There's just like a lot of nuance, and the reality is like basically all of the options are good. Like there's really no option that is just like truly horrendous. I think I play the Channeler now. Probably dies though. They don't use my mana. Cryptic Command's not dead. I have several trophies with Cryptic Command this season. Mostly with Jeskai Lotus Field. Maybe one with Reclamation when I was still playing Cryptic Command there. Yeah, I agree that Jeskai versus it boils down to how you feel Blood Moon is, but it's also true like partially Fury too, because I think Fury is good in this version and not in Jeskai, but both are they're just fine. It's really fine to play either variant. I think I'm gonna draw 2 in response. I really want to draw here instead of countering, but I don't want them to like find a blue source and spell pierce me. How to use Charm to Steal versus Hold to Steal. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to. I can't give you numbers, but you steal sometimes and you draw 2 and you counter. All the modes are good. You feel Reclamation is competitive? Of course, yeah. I've got a lot of trophies with it lately. So the Exile Ragavan looks like they're going for the dashed Ragavan, which is fine unless they hit a 0 or 1 mana spell on the top of their of my library, and they are looking at the top card of my library to see if they should dash this Ragavan. And the fact that they're dashing is horrible news for me. I expect to see a Dragon Rage's Channeler, Consider, or Mishra's Bauble off the top. Okay, never mind. This is fine. Okay, a lot of good draws here. That's not one of them. I'm going to play this, so if they go dash Ragavan, I can heat it, and if they fight over it with a counterspell, I'd rather use the Bolt than the Charm. I think Charm is a well-designed card. Charm is one of my favorite cards, as you guys can probably guess by looking at how often I put it in decks. I'm like, I don't know. I can't look at Archmage's Charm through an unbiased lens. Thoughts on Moonsnare Prototype and Mishra's Bauble interaction. Moonsnare Prototype is going to be a good card. I do think that it'll be often played in Bauble decks, yeah. Charming first, so if they have Pierce, they can't pierce my draw too. The Flood is definitely getting to me here. If we draw a land here, I'm feeling horrible. Okay, Consider. The fight goes on. I'll continue to play around Spell Pierce on Charm by playing my land. Thoughts on March of Otherworldly Light. That card will see some modern play. I think it's mostly worse than Prismatic Ending, but it is really nice that it gets Saga for 1 mana. It's an instant, which is pretty big. I do think that like paying, like not answering permanents at mana parity is a big deal, but it does have it has the ability to answer permanents at mana parity, which is nice. Okay, I don't have Delirium. If I had Delirium, I'd be more inclined to steal. One thing that I'm definitely thinking right now is I still have 4 copies of Expressive Iteration in my deck. That is definitely something on my mind at the moment. So I think I'm going to go for the draw 2. Obviously, this might just give them a window to resolve Lurrus, but I think my library's got to be pretty good right now. I also have 4 Murktide in the deck. It's not a great draw. So I think I have to take 3 from the Channeler so I can possibly bolt Lurrus. Might also bolt them. Yeah, I also doubt that they're just gonna slam the Lurrus, absolutely. I need to bolt now for the Surveil. I think I'm bolting their Channeler. Yeah, I need to draw Iteration. I have 4 Iteration in the deck. I need to draw that or Charm. Or to use 3 Charms, though. Murktide's fun, too, I guess. I think my opponent's got Spell Pierce. I don't have Delirium. Oh yeah, you're right. I have used all 4 charms. Still 0 iterations though. Another Kaya's Guile. Yeah, kind of one of those classic games. Like, you know, I drew 9 lands. My opponent drew 5. Oh, now they can drown my heat. Yeah, because I put a card in the yard. Opponent's definitely gonna hit iteration. They hit heat, okay. But yeah, now with my graveyard exile, like I don't have any charms left for Shadow. My Murktides aren't that good anymore either. So I don't know that we can actually win anymore. I guess I can iteration into 2 bolts. Now that they went to 6. Yeah. Okay. GG. No charms left in the deck to draw 2. Feels bad. Feels bad. Tough loss. Obviously the game 1 was... I didn't play on the dress down game 1. Could have maybe won that game. Could have won that game, I think. Let's run it back. Do at least 1.